Good Sunday morning, everybody. I'm Paul Lisnick. Coming up on WGN TV Political Report.
Tonight, you made history. 4 years ago, I told you.
Illinois Democrats dominate Tuesday's midterm election, and as one race comes to a close, the next is just getting started.
I'm announcing my candidacy for mayor of the city.
Yeah, a heavy hitter joins an already crowded field of mayoral candidates. But we begin this Sunday morning with the fallout from Tuesday's midterm elections. Despite the hundreds of millions spent and constant drumbeat of political ads over the last few months, Democrats won on every level of government in Illinois.
Two of the nation's biggest MAGA Republican billionaires, along with their teams of political grifters, they spewed lies and innuendo, and you showed them that Illinois is a state that stands up for working families and rejects their selfish agenda.
Pritzker's fiery speech Tuesday night did little to stop speculation that he's eyeing a run for the White House in 2024. Well, I spoke with North Central College professor of political science, Suzanne Chad, about the results and the race ahead. Suzanne, always good to see you.
You as well. Good morning.
So elections behind us, a sweep for Democrats in the statewide races, in the congressional races where we had some questions about it. So I guess I have to ask, what did the Democrats get right, or what did the Republicans get wrong?
Well, there's some structural forces that really helped the Democrats. This is our first elections with the newly drawn congressional districts, and Democrats controlled that process and redrew districts in a way that helped insulate some Democrats, especially when we had some retirements. So we saw right around in Chicagoland where I am, we saw the incumbents win in those areas, Bill Foster, Sean Casten, Lauren Underwood. Even with newly drawn districts, they still had that relationship and that money built up and that trust with their constituents. And the two races that we were sort of up in the air with, the 13th and the 17th, in different parts of the state, the Democrats won there. It was drawn to insulate those new members. So structurally, the forces were on the side of Democrats. It's really nothing the Republicans could have done there. I think that both parties knew which issue preferences to tap into: abortion for Democrats and crime and safety for Republicans, and inflation as well. One thing I'll say, though, is where I think the Democrats had an advantage is that anger drives voters. And those ads run about abortion and a woman's right to choose made voters angry, and anger activates voting.
Interesting. And it also, we have to go back to the redistricting to sort of see where this took seed and all of that. So there's always been a lot of talk about whether Governor Pritzker will go for president. When we listened, even during our broadcast on WGN, I made comments on the air too that said, you know, he was sounding a little presidential aspirational in terms of some of his comments. What did you think?
You know, I felt the same way, as talking about we're going to work together in the next 4 years to help the nation, and we can do a lot of good stuff across the nation. And it does sound like posturing, especially for a gubernatorial candidate there. But he clarified later and said that was not my intention. That's not what I meant, because I think a lot of us were listening for something, and maybe it was there and he got a little ahead of himself and wanted to pull back. But honestly, maybe it wasn't there, and he's really trying to position Illinois as a model for the country in the next 4 years, when often Chicago is what we think of with Illinois and gets maligned quite a bit in the national media. So I don't know how much there is there quite yet.
You know, and you mentioned that when we look at the issues that were of concern to voters, abortion and economy and all of that. But as I look at the Darren Bailey candidacy, did he ever have a chance? I mean, when it came to abortion, he goes, look, I can't change anything anyway. But you get a sense that in Chicago, Cook County, he just wasn't going to play to the extent he needed to win.
100%. And it's not that Illinois is not competitive for Republican gubernatorial candidates, right? We've had them in the last two cycles. But Darren Bailey, as he positioned himself, and also because his recognition in Illinois was really with Republicans and some Republicans further to the right during the pandemic, when he got a little bit of notoriety as he challenged Governor Pritzker. So he didn't have a lot of notoriety across party or across the state. And because he is a further right Republican, and particularly on issues like abortion, he didn't have a chance. And Pritzker he didn't need to spend as much money as he would have had the Republican candidate really given him a run. And, it was always Pritzker's race. It just was.
How much do we have to blame money? Republicans knew all the way through that they were never going to probably match J.B. Pritzker's bank account. But that also means they knew that they had to raise some money. And we really didn't see any kind of ad support, whatever, not to the level that Pritzker was able to do it. Should they have been ready for that?
Honestly, I feel like the party knew that this was not a race that they could win. That was a waste of resources. And
well, I mean, all the races. I mean, even statewide races. We didn't see ads for Dan Brady. We didn't see ads for very many on the Republican side.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think maybe to the same point is that those races were mostly Democrats to win. And so where there was not a real good chance for the Republican candidate to be successful, they didn't put resources there, but they shifted resources to places that they did think that they could be successful. There's a finite amount of money out there, and they were strategic where they put it.
Quick question for our DuPage viewers, which is, DuPage used to be a very red place. It got a little purple. Now we're kind of going, seems to be blue. And sure enough, they elect a Democrat, Deb Conroy, as the DuPage County Board President. Is DuPage County now safely a blue place for Democrats?
I wouldn't say safe, dark blue, but light mid blue, right? We've got a couple of cycles here where in all races, the Democrats won and continue to win, even when races should be tight, their first, second re-elections. But then across different positions, to your point, Democrats are doing very well. And I think it also shows that we are not split ticket voters. We are single party voters. And so when you want to vote for your House member that's a Democrat, you're going to go all the way down the ballot. And that has helped Democrats in DuPage County.
Let me shift to the, that election is so old. Let's move on. We're ready for the next one. Chicago mayor's race heating up. Congressman Chuy Garcia enters the race. Of course, he pulled Rahm Emanuel into a runoff back in 2015. How much does the Garcia announcement shake things up?
Well, I think we knew it was coming, or we thought it was coming. And then the fact that he did it, he waited a bit. And now the Chicago Teachers Union had already thrown their weight behind someone else. And so he didn't want to run for two things at once, right? Say he's going to run for mayor while he was technically running for re-election. So the timing isn't all that surprising. And now that he has announced the way that he's positioning himself is, especially when he supported Lori Lightfoot, is to say, I'm going to do all the things that she didn't do. And I think that Lori Lightfoot is in trouble because of his notoriety, because of the trust he has in this area, in the Chicago area, and because of how he's positioning himself.
Is it costing him the fact that, as you just said, the CTU, the SEIU, local chapters, they've already lined up behind Brandon Johnson off the Cook County board? My understanding is Chuy had reached out to some progressives trying to get them behind, but lots of progressives running for this job. Does it split the vote?
It might. And I think a lot of it's going to have to do with how much Representative Garcia can be in Chicago in the next few months. The legislative calendar is very generous to him. There's only 30 days really between now and February 28th where Representative Garcia has to be in DC. So if he can be here and shaking those hands and making those connections, and then encourage gently, not overtly, some of those other progressive candidates to kind of push to drop out and then, get all that support behind him, I think he has a chance there.
Really quickly, we're still waiting to hear from Representative LaShawn Ford, former Governor Pat Quinn, Alderman Brian Hopkins. Are there any of those names or anybody else that you still think could shake things up even more?
Honestly, I think now Representative Garcia is in the race. I don't know that that's as likely as it was before he announced. Yeah. All
right, Professor Suzanne Schad, thanks so much for your time. Have a great Sunday, and I'm sure we'll continue the dialogue.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Indeed, we will. Coming up next on WGN-TV Political Report.
Money and Donald Trump. That was it.
Hey, an honest assessment of Republican losses in Illinois. My sit down with outgoing House GOP leader Jim Durkin. That's coming up next. What?